Security guards didn't recognize Keanu Reeves and refused to let him into a fashion show. Keanu's reaction will leave no one indifferent. Friends, let us know in the comments under what conditions you watch this video. In the background, while working, or during lunch. Also, don't forget to subscribe, because tomorrow another emotional story will be waiting for you. London, a damp city glowing with evening light, a place where style and status blend into one, especially this week. Fashion Week is in full swing, and tonight marks the most anticipated event of the season, the exclusive showcase of the Haute Royale brand. A show for insiders, for the chosen few, for those who don't just wear luxury, they live it. Outside a historic mansion in Mayfair, a crowd has gathered, barely held back by barriers. Security guards in tailored suits, staff with earpieces, organizers, photographers, influential influencers with bold makeup, expensive handbags, and shoes that cost more than rent. The red carpet stretches out, camera flashes light up the night, and the air is filled with French, Italian, and American chatter. Everyone has come to be seen. Tinted black cars take turns pulling up to the entrance. Out step people clad in Louis Vuitton, Gucci, and official accessories. Their faces meticulously prepared for the lens, their gait confident. Every movement, a performance. Among the spectacle, one man approaches on foot, shoulders slightly hunched against the chill, wearing a simple dark blazer over a t-shirt, and jeans that have clearly seen many miles. His shoes don't shine, but his eyes do. Deep, attentive, warm. Keanu Reeves. He doesn't seek out cameras. He's not playing a part. He's simply a man among the spectacle of gloss. Keanu walks up to security, stops near the velvet rope, and gives a polite nod. "Good evening. I'm invited to the show. My name is Keanu Reeves." The guard looks at him like he's part of some joke. He doesn't laugh, but his entire expression screams it. He tilts his head, scanning Keanu closely, comparing him to some imagined version, then shrugs. "Sorry, sir. This isn't a place for tourists. The event is closed. You must be at the wrong building." "No, I was invited. My name should be on the list." "Uh-huh. Right. Let's not waste your time or mine," the guard replies dryly, then turns to a colleague. "Check him. But honestly, I already know what's going on." A second guard with a tablet steps forward, looking Keanu up and down. His eyes linger on the worn shoes, then his slightly messy hair. He doesn't even bother checking the list. "This is a private event, sir. We ask that you step aside. We're on a schedule." A few guests who just stepped out of a car pause, having caught the exchange. One girl in a glittering dress whispers to her friend, "Isn't that? Looks like Keanu Reeves? No? Nah, can't be. He looks way too simple." A man nearby, dressed in a blazer with gold buttons, chuckles while recording on his phone. "Ha ha ha ha. Looks like this guy thought it was an open event." Total Ohio tourist vibes. Some people look on with curiosity, others with indifference. The photographer's cameras are aimed elsewhere, missing what's easily the most human moment of the entire evening. No one steps in. Even those who recognize the face remain silent. This crowd has been trained to stay quiet when it's not their level. Keanu says nothing. He doesn't argue, doesn't try to prove who he is. He simply looks at the guard with quiet sadness, then steps back, lowers his gaze, and walks to the edge of the sidewalk, where the shadows shield him from the spotlight. The world of spectacle continues to sparkle, but the one who was meant to be its light stands quietly in the dark. For now. Inside the mansion, behind patterned glass doors, the show begins. The lights in the hall dim, and the audience, as if under a spell, turns their heads toward the runway. Loud, modern electro music fills the space. The first model steps onto the stage in a futuristic silver coat. Everything is going according to plan. Cameras snap. Instagram stories flood timelines. In the VIP area, guests discuss previous collections of the brand, while cocktails are served in silence. But one of the show's coordinators, a young woman in a black jumpsuit with an earpiece, notices something through the window. "Hey," she whispers to a colleague, stopping near the backstage curtain. Is that Keanu? Wait, is that really him?" She pulls out her phone, zooming in through the glass. The figure standing on the curb, in the shadows, with slumped shoulders and a quiet stance. It couldn't be anyone else. But why is he out there? Why isn't he inside? Her face pales as she presses the button on her walkie-talkie. "Who's in charge of the entrance? I repeat, Keanu Reeves is outside. Why is he not on the runway?" At that moment, an energetic woman with platinum blonde hair appears backstage, wearing a designer jacket adorned with feathered shoulders. It's Carla Bennett, the lead designer of Haute Royale and longtime friend of Keanu's. She scans the backstage area, searching for a familiar face. "Where's Keanu? He was supposed to be here 10 minutes ago. We agreed. He's closing the show. Where is he?" The coordinator rushes over to her. "Ms. Bennett, he wasn't let in. He's still outside. Security. They didn't recognize him." "What?" Carla nearly drops the tablet with the show schedule. "They turned him away." Chaos erupts. Assistants run with phones in hand. One of the managers dashes toward the entrance. Others try to reach security. There are only a few minutes left before the next model's appearance, but all eyes backstage are now glued to phone screens. Someone found a video of Keanu standing at the entrance, a guard motioning for him to step away. "Oh God," one of the makeup artists whispers. "It's already going viral." The video spreads like wildfire. First comment: "Someone just kicked Keanu Reeves out of a fashion show. Thank God it wasn't me." Second: "I'd be fired from life for that." Carla presses her lips together and rushes to the stage. The host, who was just about to announce the final model's walk, receives a note. "We apologize. The show will be momentarily paused." The music cuts out abruptly. A tense silence falls over the room. People glance around, whispering in confusion. Some cameras still point at the runway, but others begin searching for answers. And outside the glass, in the shadows, stands the man who was meant to be the evening's final note. The man dismissed because of how he looked, and who, despite it all, never lost his dignity. The heavy doors burst open with a sudden sound that cut through the silence like lightning through tense air. Carla Bennett stormed out onto the steps in front of the entrance. Her presence instantly eclipsed everyone else. She was wearing the final gown from the collection, emerald lace cascading in embroidered waves, the evening light making the gemstones on her corset sparkle like stars. She embodied Haute Royale, power, elegance, drama. But her face was pale, her eyes filled with fury and concern. She scanned the area, searching for someone among the cameras, guards, and curious onlookers. And then, she saw him. Just a few meters to the side, apart from everyone, stood Keanu. His posture wasn't angry or resentful, just quietly resigned. And that hurt even more. Without a word, Carla moved toward him. Her dress flowed behind her like a cinematic train. People nearby started to turn their heads. The guards backed away, confused. Cameras slowly pivoted, their lenses now fixed on the spot that moments ago had seemed unremarkable. When she reached Keanu, her eyes were shimmering. She didn't hold back. She embraced him tightly, sincerely, without a trace of theatricality. The moment was so real, the crowd seemed to stop breathing. "I've been waiting for you," Carla whispered, barely holding back tears. They turned you away?" Keanu gave a slight nod. There was no need to explain. His silence said more. One of the guards, the same one who had said, "This isn't a place for tourists," just minutes ago, turned pale. The other, the one with the tablet, took a step back and lowered his gaze. Their faces lost all confidence. Someone nearby whispered, "That really is Keanu Reeves." And then, everything spiraled. Through the glass, beyond the transparent doors, the entire hall could see what was happening. The audience, which had just been discussing fashion trends, now pulled out their phones. Journalists who moments earlier were photographing celebrities in front of sponsor walls swung their cameras around to focus on Keanu. One TV cameraman shouted, "Roll it! Roll it! This is the moment of the year!" Still holding his hand, Carla turned toward the crowd. Her voice cut through the air like a blade. "I want everyone to hear this. This man is not just my friend. He is the reason I created this collection. His humility, his strength, his dignity. It's all woven into every seam of my work, and he was supposed to close this show." A murmur rose in the room. Some exchanged stunned glances, others applauded. But all, without exception, understood they had just witnessed something far deeper than a simple entrance mix-up. It was a moment of truth, a moment that ripped apart the glitter, the facade, and false ideas about status. Because at the heart of it all stood a simple man in jeans, whom they had stubbornly refused to see, until it was too late. The heavy doors opened again, this time slowly, almost ceremoniously. And in the silence that followed Carla's words, Keanu entered the hall. He walked at an unhurried pace, without a trace of pomp. In a simple dark t-shirt, with the same calm posture that had not been broken even by public humiliation. But now, he was the center of attention. Everyone stood. No one gave the cue. It happened instinctively, as if respect for him rose from within each guest. Cameras captured his every step. The spotlight followed him. And the music changed. Instead of dramatic electro, a soft, poignant piano melody filled the room, as if the stage itself bowed to him. Keanu walked down the aisle, past the faces that had just looked through him. His gaze was gentle, yet direct, and that was what disarmed them. He wasn't triumphing, he simply was. And that was enough. The final moment, the runway. Carla stood to the side, tears in her eyes, but smiling. He nodded to her, and she gently lowered her head, a gesture of respect, a gesture of gratitude. Keanu walked the runway to its very end, slowly, silently, and he stopped, lifting his gaze to the crowd. The perfect finale, someone in the front row whispered. He looks so simple, but there's more style in him than in all of us combined. Everything paused for a moment. Then, an eruption of applause. Not loud, not theatrical. This was respect, pure and genuine. And then, a fresh wave of cameras, microphones, voices. "Mr. Reeves, how do you feel? Were you upset that they didn't let you in?" Keanu looked at the reporter who had asked the question. His gaze wasn't judgmental, but it was deep. He responded calmly, with the same inner dignity that accompanied his every word. "I'm more used to being among those who create than those who judge by appearances." The crowd fell silent. Even the cameraman stopped pressing the shutter. His words carried a truth sharper than criticism. A special kind of silence settled over the hall, the kind that only follows something truly real. The guards, who had remained by the doors, slowly approached. One of them, the one who had called him a tourist, was the first to lower his head. "I'm sorry. We didn't know." Keanu simply smiled, calmly, without resentment. His eyes were warm, and that smile, like forgiveness without words. "It's all right." And he stepped away from the runway, leaving behind not just footsteps, but a silence that lingered long after. Within that silence was understanding, and perhaps the beginning of change. Evening settled over London, but the atmosphere around the Haute Royale mansion lingered long after. The show had ended, the lights were gradually dimming, the hall was emptying. But the real show was just beginning, in the digital world. On social media, the video was already going viral. The moment when Carla ran to Keanu and hugged him, when his eyes were full of calm and his face radiated dignity. Someone uploaded the clip even before the show ended. Within an hour, the video had racked up hundreds of thousands of views. And the comments weren't angry or mocking. They were filled with awe, inspiration, and a collective sense of shame. This is real style. Not the brand, not the price, not the shine, but the soul. This man made the entire fashion world stop without saying a word. Keanu is a legend not for his roles, but for his heart. Don't judge a person by their jacket. Judge by how they stand when they're humiliated. Bloggers who, just an hour earlier, had been filming their looks in front of the sponsor wall were now reposting clips of Keanu's walk. News channels cut to live coverage. The entire fashion world, seemingly so detached from genuine emotion, was now experiencing a collective catharsis. In the corridor leading backstage, 2 security guards stood in silence. One, the same who had first turned Keanu away, leaned against the wall without a word. The other lit a cigarette, though his hand trembled. "You know," the first finally said, eyes fixed on the dark sky. "I'll never say he doesn't belong here again." "Yeah," the second replied. "Now I see how little we really see." At that moment, the door behind them opened, and Keanu stepped out into the street. No security, no cameras, just the same light step as always. He glanced briefly at the 2 men, didn't stop, didn't slow, but he nodded. And that nod was enough to stir something deep in their chests. He disappeared into the crowd, leaving no dramatic words, only silence. And a warm, subtle presence, like the memory of a man who showed that true status isn't about where you're allowed in, but how you carry yourself when you're kept out. That very evening, a new slogan appeared on Haute Royale's official page: "Dignity, the finest accessory." This was a story about Keanu Reeves, but in truth, it's a story about all of us, about how we judge people, how easy it is to label someone, and how hard it can be to simply look deeper. Each of us can be that guard at the door, and each of us, the person standing on the other side. We all face moments where our attitude says more about us than our status, job title, or suit ever could. Today's story is a reminder that dignity has no shape, that real style isn't about what you wear, but how you behave, and that even a silent nod in response can teach more than 1,000 words. In a world where appearance too often outweighs substance, be the one who sees deeper. Be the one who doesn't walk past when someone needs respect, not judgment. Because, as was said today, true style isn't about brands, it's about dignity, the kind that doesn't depend on what you wear, but lives in who you are. Be sure to share your impressions of the story in the comments, and write what conclusions you have drawn after listening to it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I wish you all a good mood, and see you in the new video tomorrow.